Hello. Just wanted to make a quick a Loki guide. Um, there aren't too many super comprehensive ones that I've seen out there. I tried looking up some myself to try and improve at the character, but yeah, I figured I could maybe make one myself. I managed to get currently Grandmaster 3. So here are just some credentials. Currently Grandmaster 3. These are my wins in matches and my competitive time. So it's pretty much just Loki that I've played in competitive. 14.6 hours and then 24 minutes on Captain America. So Loki is a pretty high potential character. He has high potential for damage, high potential for
Our
healing,
foes draw
and
near.
because of that, he's honestly a bit of an MVP magnet. Like you just get a lot of MVPs on this character because his he might not get the highest healing or damage, but he gets fairly high in both. Usually, I feel like maybe I'm just not quite there yet,
I'm
but you could
everywhere.
absolutely. There's the potential to get highest in both consistently.
You
I'm
are
not quite there
restored.
yet, but that's the idea. Um, and he probably has the best AOE healing in the game. So I just want to quickly go over some of his abilities. Like I'm assuming you know what his abilities do, but I want to go into some more detail and also mention how to best utilize these abilities in my experience. So his primary fire, it's just got the explosion. That thing, it has pretty hefty fall off. I'm gonna get rid of these guys.
I have many
It has some pretty
faces.
hefty fall off. At its center, it'll do 30 damage, so that's on a direct hit, or if you hit them directly at the feet. And for healing, it does 40.
They are in
So
front
with
of
with
invigorating.
yourself
No,
and two clones, the max, you can do 90 damage per hit,
another
or
fallen foe.
120 healing per hit. And again, this is AoE, so you can apply this to multiple people. So if maybe this is my setup and my team is down here, I could be healing 120 to all of them at the same time per shot. So it's pretty good. Something else to note, his reload, he's got 10 ammo, and his reload is about 3 seconds. So that's 3 seconds downtime on healing. So that's something to note. Maybe you might want to, maybe that's something you'll want to call in your competitive games to your team, that you're reloading, lacking heals. But yeah, and due to its AoE nature, you'll definitely want to be on high ground for this. If you're not, then it'll make it a lot harder to hit people, especially the ground. You'll want to go for more direct hits. I tend to go
As
for a lot
it
of direct
should
hits
be.
anyway,
They are in front
especially
of
on larger
us.
targets like tanks,
Idiots.
like Hulk, things like that. It's probably easier to go for the direct hits than at the feet. But yeah, for smaller targets, you'll definitely want to be shooting at the feet. Next, his E, his clone. It's got 2 charges. It's not a super long cooldown. So when I want to place a clone, I will prioritize this ability over my right click, this one,
I'm gone.
just because this has a much longer cooldown, and it's probably a bit better. It's better utility as well, so it's less. I don't really want to waste it as much. Um, yeah, this is kind of where resource management comes in for Loki a little bit. I mean, of course, you want to manage all your cooldowns. But yeah, you want to keep up your clones so you can use them for
I
an escape
outnumber
later
you.
if you need to, or reposition. So yeah, you can have 2 clones max. Placing one will replace the oldest clone,
They are in front of us. Idiots.
and yeah. Something else to note: these guys, they have a full player's worth of health, so 250. You can kind of like play behind them as well. If you're playing against like a Hela or a Hawkeye, this just could be good. If you're like, maybe he's right there, he's trying to get me, place a clone in front of me, just act as a little shield. Give me some better chances. Moon Knight, he kind of fucks you up. Honestly, to the point where it might be smart to consider swapping off Loki, but that's gonna stop me. Just because yeah, his shit will bounce all between all your clones. So if you're playing against a Moon Knight, especially a good one, you do not want to be playing next to your clones, nor do you want to be putting your clones near your team, because you could actually just screw over your entire game doing that. Another thing, Winter Soldier, his ultimate, if he hits a clone, they will get the execute threshold on their health bar, and he can get an alt reset off your clones. So that
They
one's
are in
probably a bit
front of
worse than the
us.
Moon Knight.
Idiots.
Like you really don't want to if the enemy Winter Soldier knows what they're doing. Um, Again, you probably want to swap off Loki. Never stopped me. Just try and move. Yeah, like I said, the oldest clone will be replaced if you place a new one. Just try to move, if you can, the clones away from him. Away from the enemy Winter Soldier, so you can't get restarts off them. If not, yeah, you might be in a bit of trouble. Another thing, Psylocke's ultimate. As you might know, the zone that she makes, her ult, it'll like slash 8 times within people. It basically just divides the damage she does between those 8 slashes, and those slashes will be divided among the people in her zone. These clones count as targets, so she will slash the clones, basically wasting slashes. So that's something to consider when there's an ult. Maybe you could drop some clones in a Psylocke ult to potentially save a teammate from it. But she does quite a lot of damage anyway, so I don't think I've ever really done this, but it's something you can consider and could be helpful in some cases. As for how I like to use the clones, I tend to not play with the clones. Again, I play high ground, right? High ground is best. I tend to not play with them next to me too much. If I do, at most, I play with one next to me, and then one maybe up here. You know, so you get some off angles, and then these also provide you escape angles later with your teleport. But yeah, you want to throw people off. Also, it doesn't hurt to put them like kind of behind, like maybe you'll have one there. You know, as long as its line of sight is where you'll mostly be fighting. So in this case, if I'm fighting these guys, these all have proper line of sight, and you want to have maximum uptime on 2 clones. If you can see on the left side, there's the health bar of your clones, so that lets you see how many you've got. They do seem to have a timer. It's fairly long, and in a game, you should be pretty dynamic with your clone placements. So it's it will be pretty rare for them to time out. Plus, there'll be the enemy taking them out. But yeah, and if you place them behind, if an enemy's like pushing through here, that's something they'll have to turn their heads to shoot, and it has a full player's worth of health. So that's just, yeah, wastes their time. If they turn their head, they pretty potent. Sometimes I also like to place a clone. If let's say I have one up there, I'll place the third one. Just like if a player's pushing through here, I'll place a clone right next to them. This might not be the smartest thing, but in my head, it makes a little bit of sense. It kind of it's a little bit disorienting for them, and I typically won't do this unless I have cooldowns. Like if that is my last clone that I'm placing, I won't do it because it'll most likely die very quickly, especially if the whole team is rolling through and there's about to be a big team fight. Chances are it'll die. Well, if it's a team fight, it could just be ignored. But yeah, chances are it'll die. And then if you don't have a cooldown to place another one, either you're right-click or this, then it's probably not worth doing. But yeah, ideally, you'll want to play high ground and then get your clones at some off angles. I see a lot of players just like playing their clones like this, and this is not very smart. I don't think this is very good. Moon Knight will probably instantly kill you. Squirrel Girl can shoot any of these and you'll just take damage because of the AoE. Iron Man can shoot any of these, you'll take damage. So yeah, this is not very smart. People also, yeah, your clones won't move, so people like to stand still, hide, pretend you're a clone, which I guess it isn't. The theory is there. I just don't find myself doing that very often. I think that can be useful if you get dove and you're kind of playing, like maybe I get dove by Psylocke, this guy's trying to kill me. You know, I can swap and just stand still and then maybe he doesn't know. Oh yeah, so... But I typically won't just be standing still, pretending to be a clone, for the most part. Because if the idea is that, Hawkeye has to guess. If he guesses right, I'm dead. Like, I just don't think it's worth doing that.
That's 3.
Next, his right-click. Loki right-click. Invis. Place the clone and go invisible. You can stay invisible indefinitely, but the cooldown will only begin once you leave invisibility. So, keep that in mind. You ideally don't want to stay invisible indefinitely. Just do what you need to do invisible, either escape or heal, because you do heal in the invis. And cancel it, because you want your cooldown back as soon as possible. This is a pretty big cooldown. I think it's pretty sizable, so you don't want to waste it.
I'm gone.
So what will break invisibility is making direct contact with an enemy, shooting, melee, or just pressing right click again to cancel it. Everything else you can still do in the invis,
I'm everywhere.
except you can't do that.
I still need
But-
you.
Yeah, so
Our
just keep that in
foes draw
mind. Keep that in mind that it's a
near for my
good,
friends.
one of your best cooldowns. And because the cooldown is longer again, when I'm just setting up, I probably
outnumber
won't be
you.
using my right click. I'll just use 2Es. Just because the cooldown is shorter. Oh, something
Time to
something I forgot to mention. While you're invisible, you are untargetable by Psylocke ult. So if you go invisible, you can't be hit in an ult. I've had it happen before where like I go invisible in her ult and she goes for the slash on the maybe if you're targeted for the slash before you or as you go
Time to
invisible you still get hit,
vanish.
so you just have to be careful with the timing a little bit. But yeah, you're because with her ult, I think her ult works out of line of sight. So if you're invisible, you're not in line of sight, and yeah, you can just walk out of it. Next, his shift ability,
still need
basically just an invincibility field, like kind of Baptiste from Overwatch. Places on these guys can be destroyed. It has like 100 health, so it's pretty easy to destroy. But this is probably your best cooldown and your only team utility in the game. Unless you consider your ult, I guess. But good ways to use this. Team fight, they're about to die.
I
Do that.
outnumber you.
Place a clone on your team, and then shift. You just saved your whole team. This
Get
ability
in
will
there.
also save you from any insta-kill ult. Magneto, Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, things like that. Spider-Man doesn't work so well against because his ult will just kill the Rock. And then you'll die anyway.
Our foes draw near.
But it might save you,
No.
like, it could. But most of the time, Spider-Man kills me through it anyway. Yeah, this thing's
still
OP.
need you.
And it's a super long cooldown, it's like 15 seconds. So, use it sparingly. Because of this ability, and also the rest of his kit, if you get dove by any
outnumber you.
backline kind of DPS,
I'm
Iron
everywhere.
Fist, Black Panther, Psylocke, Magic, anything like that, we can win. The 90 damage per shot he does, especially at close range, it's like pretty much impossible to miss if you can aim okay. You just win every time. Like that 90 damage per
As it
left
should
click
be.
is insane. That's a lot of damage. That's more damage than like a good chunk of the DPS in the game. And with your
Get
shift, you
in
become
there.
unkillable. And if you're playing with your 2 clones in that dive situation, which you should be, you have 3 of those zones. So if they destroy one, you can just move into another one. You can go
I'm
invisible,
gone.
kind of juke them out, heal up a bit, and then teleport. Just juke them
They
out.
are in
And you can do the
front of
standstill
us.
tech if you want to. Yeah, but you should be able to basically fend off any character who dives you. Even if it's a tank, you might not be able to kill them because of how much health they have. But you can at least get away and live. Like, you shouldn't die to a solo, being dived solo. And in that same vein, you have all these abilities to keep you alive.
Thank
But if
me
you don't
later.
have these abilities, especially your shift, you should probably be playing. You should be playing very safe. I normally will play further back anyway. So if
I'm
the fight is
everywhere.
happening down here, I'll find an angle I can take. Maybe I'll even play up here. And then, yeah, I'll play safe. Like, you don't want to be playing in there. Like, sure, if I go in there, if I absolutely have to go in here, I'm not doing it without my shift
Thank me
or my
later.
right click. Just the ways to get out.
As it should
Yeah,
be.
your shift is your best cooldown, and you do not want to waste that. Like, that can be a good use of this ability. Could be the difference between losing and
Our
winning.
foes.
Next, I also want to go over his clone swap ability, teleport.
I outnumber you.
You'll put the clone that you teleport to where you were standing, so you can kind of use this to position a clone first. So let's say, maybe I wanna be up there, but I want to put a clone here. So I'll stand here and
The more
teleport
the
there.
merrier.
Clone there, and I'll hit. Again, this
I
cooldown's
am
fairly
more
long
than
as well,
just a
and it's
trickster.
also one of your best
Double kill!
survivability cooldowns. Just reposition. So
That's
it's your only movement ability, so you can use it to get to high ground like this, or escape a fight. Something to note: the Loki, its range is the same as the placement range of the clone. However,
outnumber
I've
you.
placed this without moving, and I can't TP to it unless I at least walk forward like 1 pixel minimum, and then I can do it.
They are in
So that's something to
front
note. You
of
can't
us.
just
Idiots.
EF. So for example, if I get like thrown off by a Jeff, if a Jeff throws me off the map and I'm going away, and you want to like quickly
I have
teleport,
many
do not
faces.
try not to place the E at the max distance because you won't be able to teleport to it. So yeah, try and place that as close to the edge as you can. If you don't have a target, I think you'll just teleport to the closest Loki if you're not looking at one. So keep that in mind. Sometimes, like, so if I'm like this, like if I place this
I
guy,
have many faces.
I can't see him, but I F, I'll teleport to the other one that's within range. So that can kind of screw you over sometimes. So just keep that in mind. Quickly, I want to go over his melee, his backstab. Hitting from the back does an extra 50% damage over the base melee damage, which is 30. So he does 45 damage on a backstabber. I've seen a few people say that you could do a little thing like, you know, shoot, backstab, you know, but I just don't think this is really ever worth doing. You'll use the melee in the same way you'd use melee on pretty much any character. Just, you know, maybe you're fighting this guy. Oh shit, I'm out of ammo. He's low. I'll just hit him with the backstab. You know what I mean? Or hit him with the melee. But it's never gonna be worth going behind this guy to get the extra 15 damage. So I don't really know why it's cool that it's in his kit, I guess, like it's on theme, but
Didn't see that coming, did
not
you?
particularly useful. If you happen to get the backstab on someone when you're doing melee, that's great. If you have all these clones, like you do a lot of damage with 3 backstabs, but when are you ever going to do that? You should not be trying to set up a triple backstab on someone. I think you'll just die. Loki ult. Transform into the enemy. Before I go into anything,
Our foes draw near.
the targeting on it can be a bit iffy. Like you can be looking at this guy, but maybe there's a guy here and you'll get this guy because he's closer to you. If you go to the settings, go to keyboard, change the hero to Loki, and there's the ultimate ability targeting sensitivity. It's default 100. You can lower it to wherever you like, and that just changes how close you have to be. Your cursor has to be to the target to turn into them. That's super useful. There is also a setting that puts a confirmation, so double confirmation. So if I do this, it asks me, but I think that's just, it's an extra input you have to put in, and optimally, I think you don't want to do that, but if that's something you want to do, there's an option. Okay, so the ult. I turn into Luna Snow. I've got my 15-second timer on the right there, and I can play as Luna Snow for that 15 seconds.
Yes.
Then, when I ult, it will reset. It'll reset that timer. So I can stay as Luna Snow for like roughly 30 seconds, and depending on who you're copying. So if I'm copying Winter Soldier, if I keep getting resets, I'll never be booted out of the ult back into Loki before I finish. So no matter who you copy, you'll never be booted out of the ult. You'll get to use the entire ult. So with that, why I don't think in most cases I want to stay as like Luna Snow. Like I don't want to maximize my Luna Snow time. You know what I mean? Like maybe the reason you might want to hold this, or why this is useful, is if I might need a Luna Snow coming up, and maybe I think my Luna Snow might die, and she's the only one in the game. You know, I can turn into her before I need to use it, and just play as her for a bit, and then use the ult. But in the case of DPS, I think this is like actually bad. Like you should not. If you're going to copy a DPS ult, you should be using the ult right away, because you do not want to stay as a DPS longer than you have to. In fact, I don't think you should really be copying DPS ults at all. Well, not at all, but 90% of the time you do not want to be copying DPS ults. Copying a DPS ult means for at least 15 seconds your team is down a healer, and that's pretty bad. Like, Loki's burst healing is really strong, so being without that for 15 seconds could be the difference between winning and losing. Like, you could just lose a team fight because you just turned into the Punisher for 15 seconds. So if I would only really turn into a DPS or even a tank if maybe my other healer is a Luna Snow and she's about to ult. Otherwise, I don't really want to turn to DPS. Something else that's worth knowing is your cooldowns will go down while you're in your ult. So if you want to pop your shift before you ult, and then yeah, the cooldown will be going down while you're in that. You can also use the Loki's ult, because like he makes the announcement kind of voice line to potentially bait out defensives from the enemy team and wait for them to run out with your 15 seconds before using the ult you've copied. Okay, I almost want to go into a couple extra things about like how I typically like to start a game, play a game. At the start of the game, this is a lot easier on defense, but I know I said I don't like playing with the clones, but sometimes I'll set up some clones where I can see either their spawn or if there's a choke point on that map, and just farm as much ult charge as I can, because you do a lot of damage, and if their whole team is turning the corner, you're doing all that damage on everyone on their team. So you build ult charge pretty fast. So I just like to try and get that out of the way. I like to find weird off angles to sit on. Like this would be an amazing spot. This is a great spot. So maybe I'll have this clone up here with me, and then this guy, they're coming in through here. Place this. I can kill this guy like in 3 hits.
They are in front of us, idiots.
And then this guy can stay up here. If I get dove, like a Venom or a Spider-Man or something, I can just drop off. And then when they come back after me, I can just TP back up to where I was standing.
Another fallen
So, yeah, you can be pretty pesky. And they have to deal with you. They have to waste resources. They have to hard focus you. You're so out of the way. And then they just can't kill you anyway. In fact, most of the time you can probably kill them first. Unless it's like a tank. That might take some time. So, yeah, and I want to reiterate again, be very just cautious with your cooldowns. Without your cooldowns, this, and your teleport as well, you are so vulnerable and so killable. Like, you have to play around your shift. You just want your shift and have maximum uptime once you close. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped.